Making money is not the hard part, it's keeping and really understanding how to be able to navigate the tax game.
Yes, 100%.
I was talking to Brad Martin, he bought my call center that I built here in Medellin last year, and he was like, dude, the easiest way for you to stay broke is for you not to learn taxes. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Dude, this year, I have a huge tax liability, and I totally understand him now. So when I came to Medellin the first time, within the first month, I had already made 3 hires: the video guy, the chef, and the trainer. And it was something where I started building a team around me to really take care of me, because I realized, like, I already had hired a bunch of people in my agency, had 30 plus team members. I can't call them employees, these are called contractors or virtual assistants, but I just realized, like, bro, you could just leverage people to do the things that you don't want to do. I've been, my marketing, and if anybody watching, I do marketing for air conditioning companies throughout the United States, and working with so many companies, if you're doing med spots, Kairos, or whatever, the goal at some point, if your vision gets big enough, is to be part of one of the businesses that you market for. And so I graduated towards that, and yeah, I actually, it wasn't given to me. I put equity, I put money up to buy equity. Nice.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Make America Remote again. And on this episode, I had the pleasure of interviewing my good friend Jose Sanchez here in Medellin, Colombia. And I've known Jose Sanchez for the last 3, almost 4 years, when he actually first launched his very first marketing agency before he made millions online. And I vividly remember him struggling and not being able to figure out how to grow and scale the agency. While he had tons of sales experience, which we talk about on the podcast, that does not correlate 100% to scaling a business, because sales is only a part, it's only a portion of the entire business model. So unfortunately, the first 5 to 10 minutes of this podcast was cut due to audio difficulties. I'm actually getting new microphones as we speak. So we're gonna skip towards minute about 10. And just to recap the first 10 minutes of this conversation, we're talking a little bit about Jose's story, where he mentions his start in the car sales industry, where he worked there for, I believe, 6 years, which is pretty crazy, because I worked in the car sales for only 4 months and it was absolutely dreadful. And we talk about his experience in really growing and scaling the agency, and now the ventures that he's getting into, which is from working with HVAC and providing them leads to now partnering with them and literally taking equity in their business to be able to scale and ultimately sell. So the journey of Jose Sanchez is something very spectacular, and I hope you get to learn 1 or 2 things. Share this podcast. Remember, like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, remember, we're gonna make America remote again. How would you recommend someone, so I want to get back to the strategic partnership in a minute here. How do you recommend someone in going about finding a partner? Because let's say they are good at closing and they're not good at media buying. What would you advise for them to find that person that can help them balance the business?
Yeah, and so most of the time when you're in that position, you're struggling, you're just like trying to look for a survival mode. Anybody who can help you, you take them on. But the reality of finding a partner that's going to be long-term longevity of your business is somebody that also not only aligns and wants to help you, but also aligns with who you are as a human being. Because I'll give you an example. If my thing is I'm going to take advantage of people and your thing is you're going to help people, it's going to crash 100%. Core values don't match, ideas don't match. 100%. Even though I have the opposite skill set, it won't be longevity. You'll be able to get the partnership. I would say guard your equity as much as you can, and put people on, let them prove to you. So I'll give you an example. If I want to partner with Omir, the first thing I do with Omir, I said, hey, Omir, I'm going to do a deal with you where I am going to give you a partnership, but I'm going to give you whatever equity we're going to agree on, and we're going to put it like in an escrow account with no interest. And you're going to prove to me in the first 90 days that you can deliver the things that you can. And if you can, within 90 days, you and I can exit this partnership, but we're going to allow you to unlock it after 90 days. So you get a little test drive, because otherwise, too many times, people come into your business, they take advantage, they sweet talk you, and then come to find out, the truth is that they weren't really in. They just wanted to take equity.
And then the thing is, equity is irrelevant. People don't realize until you sell the business.
Yes. Well, equity is also very important because it comes down to tax liabilities. It comes. I mean, there's
tax liabilities, 100%.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you just said, which is really interesting, because I did this with Esteban, is the first 90 days we didn't even have any paperwork. We had nothing. We just had an agreement. The escrow account would have been much better, but we just had an agreement like, hey, let's test this out. If it works, great. And then it became a healthy relationship. But one of the tips I have for partnerships is it's gotta be more than just business.
Yeah.
There's gotta be like a layer above business, because that's like, this is gonna sound really freaking weird, so I apologize. But it's like being in a relationship and the only thing you like is sex. Like sex eventually, like eventually,
Right,
it's like
that's comparable to money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's beyond the person? What's their core values, like you mentioned? So then we hit 2021. That's when you guys made your first million, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then what was the turning point for you in terms of finding out about, oh shit, revenue is not profit. Like I'm making money, but we're not making money.
Yeah, we got into a different program called Apex with Ryan Stewman, and there was people in that group that were making $100 million in revenue, and we're coming in flexing at $1 million. And we realized like, oh,
Wait, shit.
we might be a big fish in the agency space at $1 million, but in real life, you got businesses that are doing $100-200 million in revenue a year. We are not anywhere near comparable. So that humbled us, right? And we started realizing like revenue is a vanity metric and profit is a sanity metric. So we started looking at, all right, if we make $1 million, can we at least keep 100? Because our goal was this big, right? Like I was like, can we at least keep 10%? Truth was, we didn't know how, right? Because here's what would happen. I would be like, hey, I need another VA. I need to hire 2 more for this position. Then what would happen is now I'm overstaffed and I have very inefficient team members that are doing 1 task per team member. And so I have 1 person for billing and all they do is they just look at Stripe. And I have another person that just does media buying and then they need a helper and the helper needs a helper. Before I know it, I had 37, 38 people where I could have had 10 A players and bad fucking ass team. But I didn't realize it. I didn't understand how to hire the right people, right? Because there's, again, as you got into recruiting, I'm assuming you met some mediocre people that want a salary. I call those people bodies. A person that's a body, it's somebody who can make decisions for themselves, that warms up a seat on a daily basis on a company. And an A player is somebody who can make decisions and drive your company better than you can.
Yes, correct, 100%. And it's funny you say that because our team now is over 30 people, and I'm like, man, it feels like we're overstaffed a little bit. And then I call that all the time. I'm like, hey, we're overstaffed. That means that we've got to overdeliver. If we're overstaffed, it means you must overdeliver. Otherwise, you won't have a company.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your first hire or first few hirings. What were they?
Just listen, I didn't have no money, so I was really trying to negotiate with virtual assistants, like lower salaries. And it was somebody in Africa. His name was Joseph. He kind of took me to 50K. Wow. And then I let him go because he couldn't spell. All the ad copies were incorrect. The messages was wrong. But you know, you can make 600 grand a year with very little knowledge. Like making money is not the hard part, it's keeping and really understanding how to be able to navigate the tax game.
Yes, 100%.
I was talking to Brad Martin. He bought my call center that I built here in Medellin last year. And he was like, dude, the easiest way for you to stay broke is for you not to learn taxes. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Dude, this year I have a huge tax liability and I totally understand him now.
That's huge. That's the next step for me next year with me and Esteban, because we're now starting to get into that world where, okay, we're making a lot of money, we have investments, but man, I don't know taxes, and it's also a dangerous game I'm playing. Because the consequence of not paying taxes is not just fines. It could be jail, right? Now, so those are things that, you know, you can. There's two things that are certain in life, right? Die and IRS, exactly. So, and we'll dive into that. We'll dive into strategic partnerships here. So you started making money, you started learning a little bit about profit, you started hiring people, okay, the team started growing. Then you hit a point in your life where you're like, I want something different, because I vividly remember talking to you and I remember you did so much research before moving to the city. Yeah. And I was telling you this, like, you're the first person that I know that in my friend group that came to Colombia did it right. Yeah. So tell the people, like, why move from Colombia? Because you were making money. You could live anywhere in the world.
Yeah, so let me give people a little bit of context. What happened was I was living in Dallas, Texas. I was running my agency. And one day I had an ex-girlfriend. We were living together at the time. And I broke up with her. And I moved to Miami because I was thinking that Miami was going to be the great weather, the beautiful chicks, the nice cars, right? I was going to get in an environment. The truth is, when I moved to Miami, I realized maybe I wasn't in the right area. Didn't know the right people. I feel like everybody's superficial and a lot of it is fake. Right? And I just, it wasn't genuine. I'm very down to earth. I don't care to flash. I don't have an ego. I don't care about that. So to me, it's not a show off. To me, it's like, how can I contribute for you to become better, rather than let me show you what I have that makes you feel less. Right? I don't care about that. So Omir hits me up and he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, bro, I'm kind of like not in a good spot right now. I'm in Miami, but I'm thinking I'm gonna go back to my home country. I was born in Mexico. And he says, before you do that and go to Mexico, fly down to Medellin, check it out. I said, what is Medellin? I didn't even know. So I looked it up on YouTube. There was a lot of chicks on the YouTube channel. I was like, this could be a fun place. So I was already in Miami and I started developing a vision. I said, okay, here's what I want to do for myself. I was doing 75 hard at the time. So, you know, exercise was a big priority in my life at the time. And I said, I'm going to hire a trainer. and I'm going to hire a chef, and then I'm going to hire a videographer. The same guy that's actually filming is the same guy that I hired at that time. And I'm going to hire a driver because I actually don't enjoy driving. I don't know why. I get a little road rage, bro. I like to go fast, and people don't go fast enough for me.
Because you're here.
Yeah. So when I came to Medellin the first time, within the first month, I had already made 3 hires: the video guy, the chef, and the trainer. And it was something where I started building a team around me to really take care of me, because I realized, like, I already had hired a bunch of people in my agency, had 30 plus team members. I can't call them employees. These are called contractors or virtual assistants. But I just realized, like, bro, you could just leverage people to do the things that you don't want to do. And I did.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because that was around the time that you came here for the first time. I had launched my company, and we already started doing recruiting. I was also doing sales for the Joel's program. And when you came here, and I thought I was doing it right, because I've at this point I've probably been in Medellin for maybe like 8 months, 7 months, enough to be able to bring you here and connect you. But you came in, and like within the first month, you were already ahead than everybody. And I remember doing Thanksgiving, and I was just like, holy shit, he has a whole staff here.
Yeah, I have.
And that's when it made me realize you're the first person that I met. Of course, there's people doing it that I met that actually did it right.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool vision, because you didn't just come to Colombia. You actually came to Colombia with a vision.
Yeah, I did.
And you made it happen very, very fast. And obviously, you've still been here for many years. And like, when people ask you, like, why Colombia? Like, what is it for you about this country that, like?
Well, I lived in Alaska for 8 years, so a lot of times people say, well, Colombia, isn't that about drugs and, drug dealers? And it was at one point, but today, I mean, if you come here, the weather's perfect, money multiplies. So that's another thing that we could talk about. I didn't come here to multiply money. I didn't know that. But once I got here and I realized that $1 could equal 4, I was like, oh my God, I don't need to make $1 million. If I make 100 grand, I made 400 grand. If I made 200, I made 800. The math made sense, and I just started leveraging resources that I was, within reach. And I love it. I love this country. There's a few things that I do miss from the States, such as the ability to gain money quickly, access to money. Money laundering rules have made money accessible very difficult.
Yeah. Service too. Here's a little.
Yeah, the service is not that great. That's why I bring everything in house. I actually, if you know my personal life, I don't leave my house. My barber, the maid, the chef.
I've been trying to get Jose to come to my house for the last month. He literally does not leave the house.
Yeah, I don't leave the house. I just have everything, so there's no purpose of leaving for me. And I work long hours. Like, I still work my ass off. There is no, at one point, I'll share this going back just as a memory. If anybody understands or have ever heard that you can fully automate your business and fire yourself, that is a promise that was sold to me that is not real, because a business without leadership does not go anywhere.
Nope. And unless you replace yourself with a CEO.
Yeah, and at that point, it's very, you're going to pay $350,
yep.
$450,000.
You better be doing millions of dollars a month.
Yeah. It's not an easy thing to do at $1 million in revenue.
How I see it is, can your business sustain without you for weeks at a time, if not months? Like, just in case, like my grandma passed away, so I had to go to Israel for a funeral, and I basically didn't work for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we still got sales, and we still got hirings, we still accomplished. I could definitely see where I was missed. Like, there was definitely but the business was driving without me.
Right.
To me, it's like, okay, I built a good team, I built good leadership, and it's also, your leaders want to be able to leave at times and take time off. So I agree, like, you can't, the whole, I'm just going to live, I'm just going to have a business, unless you find someone to replace you, that's not happening for a long period of time. And you're also, at bare minimum, you're going to do what you did previously. You're not going to grow.
Yeah, that's right.
So you got the staff here, you start building a life, you got a beautiful fiance, so you've really built a life here.
Yeah, and so my vision when I came here was to really outsource the things that I didn't and find a wife, right? I had a really clear vision when I broke up with my ex. I was like, hey, I know what I don't want in a woman, so I wrote down what I did want in a woman, right? Like, my perfect woman, I wrote down from the looks to personality to qualities, and I got really clear, and I said, hey, listen, until I find this woman, I'm not
fucking leaving.
Yeah, I'm going to do I'm going to have some fun. And then I did. I had a period of time where I was just having a lot of fun. And then I found her, and I chilled. I stopped. We're going to get married next year. It's going to be, and we'll probably end up going back to the States. I would like, if I have kids, to have them in U.S. soil.
So I want to challenge you on that, because the education, so the life that you have here, to replicate that in the U.S., I could be wrong, could be maybe 30, 40 grand a month.
Yeah, about so.
Right?
Yeah.
So why would you not stay here and send your kid to a private school and give them a better life, and they can also learn English and Spanish a lot easier?
Yeah, well, and that's something that I've considered, and I'm kind of dilemma. I was talking to immigration lawyers. If you guys ever want to take somebody from a foreign country back to the States, there's a lot of legal process. I was talking to an immigration lawyer. They told me, hey, listen, it's possible. Here's how much it would cost. They told me the whole process. And then I talked to someone who's actually lives here, who's a U.S. citizen, who in the agency space, who has kids with a Colombian. And they're like, dude, the amount of things that we can leverage. We have the maid, we have the private schools, we like, and he kind of made me come to reason a little bit like, hey, is going back to the States really the best option?
Yeah.
I would really like my kids to be born on U.S. soil.
Well, that's different. You can make them born and bring them here.
Yeah, 100%. But another thing is like you can legalize a kid when it's born here. You just go. There's a process.
Of course,
it's about
American.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
You're not there yet, so you don't have
I'm
to.
not there, I'm not far. I mean, I'm only about 16, 18 months away from that.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm with you. I've basically accomplished almost everything. I'm looking for my future wife. So if you're watching, maybe we can go out. But I kind of go back and forth. Is like, do I want to raise a family here or do I want to raise a family there? And the difference between me and you potentially is that my parents are incredible, but I know my mom has made it very clear. I'm not babysitting your kid. You know, like maybe once a year, okay. But I feel like a Latina family, like they'll take care of the kid. Yeah,
they're very much.
And I also know private schools here are much more affordable, and education here is a lot better than it is in the U.S.
Yeah.
Of course, there's good education in the U.S.
Sure.
But if you have to have, I'm talking about a lot of money
you
to
got to
send
be
to
in
private
the
schools. Yeah, and then here, private school is also pretty expensive, but it's also less expensive. So I don't know. I kind of go back and forth. I'm excited to see your journey about that. So, you made recently a post on Facebook, and it kind of blew up, and I was very shocked by seeing it, but it didn't really shock me that much because it was something that I feel like you've had in you and you probably had thoughts about. And I wanted you to talk to the audience about it, which is you are now an HVAC owner.
Yeah, and so I've been, my marketing edge, if anybody watching, I do marketing for air conditioning companies throughout the United States, and working with so many companies, if you're doing med spots, Kairos or whatever, the goal at some point, if your vision gets big enough, is to be part of one of the businesses that you market for.
Yes.
And so I graduated towards that, and it wasn't given to me. I put equity, I put money up to buy equity. Nice. Only a minority, 20% owner of an HVAC company. We did 1.5 million so far year to date, 2024.
Nice.
And with my help, I'm sure we'll do 4 million the following year.
Do you feel like there's a much bigger potential here than the marketing agency?
Well, the marketing agency is incredible. Like if you understand how to run the business profitable, the marketing agency could give you a great life. But I personally think this, and this was taught to me by a few higher level people. He says, your first business, it'll teach you everything, but it won't make you rich. That first business will open up all the doors for the rest of the opportunities that come your way. Yeah. And so that's kind of what's going on. I haven't made this public. I'm here. I'll probably make it public with you. I just signed another deal last night with another HVAC company in Vegas. Yeah, thank you.
Man, that's huge. Yeah. That's huge. Are these clients of yours?
Yeah.
So you're building relationships with them?
Yeah.
So just so the audience understands, you are finding them, they're coming to you through paid ads?
Yeah, through paid ads, yeah.
You're getting them to partner up with you guys, and then you guys are doing Facebook ads, delivering business, and then do you guys also call the leads and qualify them? Like, tell us a little bit about
so basically we've evolved our model. At one point it was just Facebook ads, but we've evolved. We realized that if you're really going to capture and help a customer, you need to target everything that has to do with digital side, right? So everything from the SEO, from making and hosting the website, to Facebook ads, to Google ads, Google LSA, like really the whole spectrum of digital marketing. And their clients, like the one that I signed yesterday, he's been a client of mine for 3 years.
Wow, so you've got a great relationship with him.
Yeah, and I've made him a lot of revenue, right? And so this other one that I actually partner with, his name is Omar from Boost Heating and Air out of Dallas, Texas.
Shout out to Omar.
Yeah, shout out to Omar, homie. You watching?
Let's go.
We're going to go big. He was a client from February 2024 till November, and he was like, yo, bro, I would love to have you as a partner because I know you could help me. And he kind of brought it to me, right? So now what happens, if you bring a lot of value, you start becoming attractive and people want you involved. Yeah. If you take more than you give, people will want you out.
Every time.
Yeah, so you just got to give more than you take, and that's really what it comes down to.
It's cool, man. I was talking to my business partner about this as well, and what you're doing is you're using the agency space as a cash flow to give you a good life and be able to do this. And then you're doing in a sense, kind of like the acquisition model. Right. And then you're buying into the businesses, whether it's equity, whether it's your value, and then you're helping them grow and maybe potentially exit or buy franchises. I'm sure right now it's just, I want to learn the ins and outs of the business. The only way you're going to do that is by being part of the business.
100%.
So when did you sign the first deal?
November 1st, 2024.
November 1st,
yeah.
So that was a few weeks ago.
So we've done $320,000 since November 1st in revenue.
Incredible.
Yeah.
What did you guys do different than what value did you provide to this
Bro,
company?
honestly, it's the craziest thing, and some people will be like, oh, that's nothing, anybody can do that. I created better tracking. So I came in November 1st. I was already doing all the marketing for them. So I came in November 1st, and I started tracking everything. and started tracking conversion rates on bookings, which they weren't, and then sales tracking, meaning if I send you on an appointment, just simple stuff, right? Because the simple stuff can make a lot of money if you understand how to apply it. What I did is I took over the CSR role. CSR is customer service rep, meaning I call the leads. So I personally have been booking the appointments for them, and I just ask enough questions to where I pre-sell the lead on the company's behalf, so somebody could show up and close it without much friction.
And the biggest reason you're doing this is because you want to build a system. Then when someone comes in, you have created a script, you've created processes, so it can be duplicated, right? You're not doing this as like, you're not going to be the CSR
not forever,
right?
But
you're building everything.
That's making so. I mean, we've done $300,000+ this month, and we're 23 days in the month by that process. So I would do it as long as, dude. Let's just look at numbers. 3 times 12, you're looking at $3.6 million. Would I do it if it helps the company? Yes. At some point, obviously, I don't want to buy a job.
Yes.
But I definitely am all about profitability.
And it's also your first month in the business, so it's like you're learning. It's like, I'm just saying, there's going to be a point where you're going to 100% delegate that.
Yeah. And I can then duplicate these processes. It's pretty simple. Like I figured it out because I had a call center. If you guys don't know, I built a call center here in Colombia. It was a Colombian entity, very difficult. Don't recommend you go that route if you
want to talk more about that. So like, what was the vision behind that?
Well, it was to support my agency, right? It started with, hey, my clients are saying my leads don't work. They're calling, but they're not getting any answers. So how about I step in and support them and offer them an upsell and call the leads and book the leads on their behalf. And one thing always leads you to another thing. Before you know it, yes, I was doing about 70 grand in the call center, but I was losing about 15, 20,000 bucks a month.
And so let me ask you this. I'm always curious because there was another friend here that built a call center and then that doesn't exist anymore. Why did you feel like, because you built a whole team remote?
Yeah, it was 30, no, it was all here, it was on site.
Why did you feel like you couldn't do that remotely?
Well, I wanted to do it on site because I never had a brick and mortar location. I wanted to explore it. I had a bunch of remote people, but here's the deal with remote people. You have very little control over schedules. If they don't want to show up, you can't really, like, there's nothing there. And when you hire remote, they're basically 1099 contractors.
Correct.
You could call them team members in W-2, but that's not correct. When you have them on site, you have control over the hours, the production, you have control over so many different things. So I wanted to build something that was in-house and culture-wise. And I'll be honest, it was great, but it was very difficult.
What would you have done differently knowing what you know now?
I wouldn't do it.
Really?
I wouldn't have done it.
Do you think that there was nothing, because there's ways to run it successfully, right?
Yeah, there are,
What do you think for you was the hardest part of running it successfully?
Trying to run the agency and trying to run the call center at the same time because my business partner wasn't involved and I was running 2 businesses.
But the call center was only for the HVAC, or did you guys start?
Yeah, and so what happened, it started like, hey, let's just call our clients, and then we had lost a bunch of clients, and so now I'm like left with 25 accounts, and I have 36 people, and so I like, now let's go find more clients. And that deviated everything. I had a solar client in Yuma, Arizona, shout out to Jimmy, he was paying me 30 grand a month. Bro, 30K retainer, that's crazy.
That's nice, that's nice.
But then it required me to deviate from my HVAC to solar, and I didn't know nothing about solar, and I had to learn it. So that's why I wouldn't do it again, because I got too deviated.
I have a friend here, his name is Scott Morse, so he runs the biggest Scott center in Pereira, 200 people. And I feel like I mean, he's a savage. He would use it. The reason it's worked so well is because he's only in one industry.
And he's focused.
That's it. He's not, you want to do solar. I think he's now starting to dabble a little bit, but he's built such a freaking empire where you were just building it up and then you started getting new clients. And it's the number one thing we teach, right? It's like stick to one niche.
One niche.
And so you guys grew to 36 people. How did you, how was your process? Does everybody call different leads, or is it like, okay, Jonathan, you have these 10 clients. These are only your 10 clients, or how would it work?
Yeah, that's kind of how it was. We would divide clients amongst team members, and we would put like pots, like, hey, these 10 people are going to call this 100 accounts. You're going to get divided by 10 accounts, and you're responsible for producing for these 10 accounts. And that's how we would keep people accountable. It was a difficult time. I would tell you I learned a lot, and I definitely understand what not to do if I ever did it again. I think at this point, things have been evolving with artificial intelligence, where I'm actually in the process of trying to build an answering service with AI. It's still not there, even though a lot of people say AI is the best. Like, there's still, the robot still has a lot of things to evolve and to work out the kinks and the bugs. But I think that at some point, I think that would be the way. The AI bots.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
What was the biggest difference between running a remote team and an in-person team? You mentioned like you have a little bit more control, you have the time, but like what about the remote benefits that you've seen?
Well, the remote benefits is you just keep your wages low. Yeah, and in-house, like, there's so many different things that you get gouged on salaries, and you know,
you also dealing with Colombian government.
Yeah, you got to pay vacation, 401k. You know, the workers' comp, and then here in Colombia, this is why I personally don't want to hire Colombians anymore, is because if you have them on a contract and they're like on a W-2 employee, if you decide to fire them, you have to give them a severance pay.
But depending on how long they've worked there, right?
Yeah, so they earn, basically the severance pay, it's kind of like the 13-month. I'm sure you're familiar with the 13-month, and it adds up. So if they make $1,000 a month, I think they get $86 every month. And at the end of the contract, let's say they've been with you for 2 years, you owe them like 2 months worth of salary or something along those lines. And bro, it becomes difficult. I had to fire 38 people one day, and it cost me like $42,000. That,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. These are only for employees, right?
Yeah.
So if you mentioned you would never hire Colombian employees. Would you hire Colombian remote workers?
Yeah, I would. And I'll be honest with you, I've hired plenty of them. So I've hired people from Philippines, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Mexico.
Yeah.
Every country has pros and cons. It's never perfect. One thing I've learned about Colombians is there's so many holidays, and people have become, I would say, a little bit accustomed to, hey, Monday's a holiday, so I don't want to work, or hey, it's December, we're going to take 2 weeks off, and it's like, hey, business doesn't stop. You know?
It doesn't. I will tell you, like, we've hired a lot of people. Obviously, we've hired from like 50 different countries. Yeah. And majority of my team currently is in Colombia, actually Bogota, and I've learned that it's just it's the culture, but it's also how familiar they are with American culture. Yeah, and how long did they spend time? Did they get deported? Like, if they understand American culture, and also if they work for an American business, like, motherfucker, I'm not giving you every Monday off. Sorry. Like, you know, and they learn that, and obviously, you know, they get paid time off. The ultimate thing with the business is that it has to become a win-win-win. That's the way I see it. It's a win for your clients. It's a win for your team. That's how I win, right? Yeah. So you talked about strategic partnerships. That's very important, because I think that this requires two things. Number one, it requires you getting results for your clients. Yeah. And number two, you actually building a good relationship with your client, right? So talk to us about how you're getting into these strategic partnerships, and like, what is your vision? Because obviously 3-4 years ago, you weren't able to do this.
No, not at all. And I used to suck 3 years ago. If you were my client 3 years ago, I apologize to you, dude. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, reality is a lot of times we create these beautiful marketing campaigns, and they show like, hey, we're going to get results. But the truth is, you're still like an infant in the game, right? I don't think you ever get good until like you're in year 4 to year 5. Because you got to make thousands of mistakes for you to really get good. And yeah, you might have success with one company, but if you have 100 companies, you're going to have a terrible success rate across the board. Yeah. Right. And so you got to look at it from a wider perspective, rather than like, man, Omir's my client, I'm killing it for him, and then I have another client over here and he's failing, but I'm not looking at him. I'm only, shining the light on Omir. And so you should be shining the light on, like, what am I doing wrong? Should I stop taking clients in this area? And so that was a probably long summary, but there was a lot of failure rate at first. Like, dude, I was not the best at what I was doing. And so as I got better and as I started progressing, I started wanting to do better for people, I got better. And I hired better people. Today I have a CMO who makes, bro, last month I wired him $36,000.
God bless.
Yeah, so now I have the ability to have, when I say a CMO, I'm not talking about a virtual assistant that I hired that knows how to run a Facebook. I'm talking about a guy that has like a doctorate in marketing. Somebody at high level, and you're not going to get that person for $5,500 a month.
So outside of getting clients results, like, how do you think you get into these strategic partnerships?
Well, you build value by providing results, and then people become attracted to working with you. And what I've done is, like, for example, this company I acquired in Dallas, what I've done is I've kind of been documenting and showing the progress to some of my clients. Like, the people that I market for, I'm like, hey guys, I'm marketing for this client, but I'm also having a lot of success. Here's how I'm doing it. And people are like, hey man, you're marketing for me, but I'm not having success because I don't know how to sell, or I don't know how to book appointments. Would you be open in doing the same for me? So as long as you can have some form of a case study that you're winning, and it's actually winning, it's not like manipulation where you're looking for the benefit and they're going to lose. People start coming to you to offer you money and offer you equity. And the easiest business that will do that are the ones that are failing. Like, no business that's, blowing $80 million.
Microsoft not coming to you.
No. Yeah. It's honestly, you're going to put a bunch of work in, and you're going to help failing businesses to recover and turn around. Yeah.
And you're investing in the people.
You are. I don't invest in the business, even because I look at the numbers, I'm like, Jesus Christ, these numbers don't make no sense, but I like this guy. I think he's willing to put in the work. I'll invest in you.
Yeah. It's a Shark Tank, right? It's like they come in and you can tell, okay, the product is cool, but they always talk about the numbers first, the data, and then they look the person. Who's the person behind it? Does he actually believe what he's saying? Does he have a vision? What is actually his ultimate goal? And it's interesting because it's always invest in the people, not the business, right? The people will build a business. You invest in them. So, I like what you just said, because with strategic partnerships, I think it's the biggest getaway from making from 7 figures to 8 figures.
Yeah, that's where I see myself going in the next couple of years. And so, like yesterday, I was talking to a guy that's out in Philadelphia. He's an HVAC owner. He's like, bro, I love what you're doing. I sent him some stuff that I'm doing now, and he's like, do you want to be part of my company? Again, people are asking me because when they see winners,
they want to be around.
Winning attracts winning, right? Yeah. Losers are like, hey, if I'm losing, I want to find a winner so I can get closer to him, so I can get the proximity to win better.
100%.
And so that's what's been doing it. At some point, if you're struggling, if you're going through something where maybe it's not working, eventually we'll get better.
Yes.
I heard this by Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Houston Rockets.
Yes.
He said in a book called Shut Up and Listen, he said, when things are going bad, don't forget that eventually they'll be good. And when things are going good, don't forget that eventually they'll be bad. So life is about cycles. You're not always going to be at the top, and you're not always going to be at the bottom.
Never. And no matter who you ask. Billionaires, I mean, look at Trump. Like, he was bankrupt multiple times. You know what I mean? All the lawsuits, all the stuff they had to go through. And, I was watching his documentary, and he was talking about he has one rule in life: never quit.
Yeah.
And, the reason I believe that you're where you're at today is because you have been in one industry for 5 fucking years.
Yeah, come next year.
Come next year, it's 5 years. And you could have pivoted to other industries. Yeah. You could have gotten burnt out. It's not like you're working with the brightest people in the world.
No.
It's not like you're working with people who are, it's a big industry, but like I believe working with maybe lawyers, dentists, like they have their mental fortitude for money is different than HVAC people or contractors.
No, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that started in 7FA around the same time that were in the same niche are no longer in that niche. So a lot of people, hey, they gave it an opportunity. They made $1 million in revenue. They stuck for a year or 2 years, got the 2 Comma Club award. They made a big deal about it, and they're no longer around. They said, hey, it's too hard. The people are too broke. It doesn't work. But the thing is, no matter what niche you are, obviously if you're in a niche that's so small, it's not going to work. But if you have a good niche cap and there's money in that niche, stick to it.
Yes.
Stick to it. Don't exit too soon, because sometimes it's going to require 3 years extra than you're already projecting for you to get to where you want to be.
100%. You want to be that guy in the industry. Yeah. Like when I think HVAC, I want to think of Jose Sanchez. When I think of dental, I want to think of that person. Yeah. Coaching, whatever it is.
That's right.
And the only way you can do that is by 2 ways. You actually get success, and you're able to maintain that success. Yeah. Because anybody can be successful a month, even a year. Yeah. Right? We've tasted it, and we've had to go through ups and downs. And I want to talk a little bit about the downs before we go to the ups. Like there was a time in the business that started suffering. So obviously it was with the call center. How were you able to bounce back from that?
Oh, it was so difficult, man. Like stopped taking paychecks, wasn't able to really make any money from it. The revenue was coming in, was just sustaining payroll. It was when I was down, I was really down, like there was dark times in the business where I didn't know if we were going to make it. And I really doubted myself. And what happened is you go in these programs and you flex $100,000 a month, and then your ego gets big, and then you get humbled by like, hey, I made $100,000, but I lost 85,000. Like, holy smokes, how am I going to survive this? Right? And I didn't know about having money in the bank account and keeping it there. I didn't know a lot of stuff. So as I went through these struggles, it really created this hardness in me and grit that it required, like, to suffer through some hard times. And bro, honestly, be honest with you, a lot of people could say whatever they want, but if you don't struggle in a business as a startup, if you continue through the struggle, you'll get out of it. But it takes a lot of, excuse my vulgarity, but it takes a lot of balls for you to go through it.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
And that's why they always talk about business. The first thing is mindset. Yeah. Because it's easy to win is easy. The easiest thing is to win. The hard thing is to become a winner. Yeah. And it's to endure the losses and being able to bounce back. Right. Because like you said, business ups and downs is, you mentioned your first business doesn't get you rich. It teaches you, right? Yeah. I love that quote. Yeah. Another quote I heard is that you're not really a millionaire until you get sued.
I just got sued. Yeah, I'm going through it right now.
Yeah, so it's like, that's very interesting. It's like, oh wow, I've never been sued. I mean, I got cease and desist. We've had but it never like a formal lawsuit. Yeah, because that is all the people we look up to in life have been sued of some sort, right? So, what are your thoughts on being able to pivot from, because in a sense you focused on the call center, then you went back to the HVAC, but you had a chance to do something different. What made you want to go back to HVAC?
Because that's where the vision started, man. And yeah, like when I and you're right, there was a lot of, hey, we should change these niches, we should go to that niche, we should close the agency, we should sell it, we should go do coaching, we should go do consulting. I was like, you know what feels right here? Because a lot of times the decisions are pretty black and white, and when something's not right. And a lot of times I just follow my intuition and my gut feeling, and I tell you, I didn't want to be a coach. I didn't want to teach people how to do certain things. I wanted to do them
Yeah.
Because I was like, nah, there's so many people out there talking about, hey, how to make 100 grand, how to make 50 grand, whatever the amount is. And yeah, they might have done it, but they didn't surpass that. And I didn't want to get stuck at like, I'm a $100,000 coach. Like, no. Listen, I'm on my way to $1 million a month right now with one business, not across all the business. Like one business will make me $1 million a month in revenue.
Which is sick.
Yeah.
And the problem with coaches, most of them are they sell a dream.
Yeah, they sell hype.
Yeah, they sell hype, and it's unfortunate because like I do believe Agency Lab is was at least at one point the best agency coaching program in the world, right?
Oh, and I got to think, Joe, like honestly,
yeah,
man, like
change your life.
It changed my life forever. But I graduated from some of the stuff you teach or you taught at one point, and so now I'm like on a different. At one point, if you figured out how to make $1 million a month, I'm in for that.
Yes,
yeah,
100%. They pivoted, they've done changes, but the agency space is so interesting because it really is a great starting business. It's like for you to go from white to blue belt.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the agency game.
Yeah.
Then you got to think about what's next, because I look at people like Eddie Malouf, who's selling multiple million a month, right? Agency's making still a lot of money for him, but you see he's investing into restaurants, and he now has a recruiting company. He has all this stuff, and I'm like, this is the goal. It's to be able to leverage your time and invest into other businesses with your knowledge, and you just being a part of that business.
Right.
Increases the net worth of that business.
100%.
Right? And it takes time, it takes fortitude, but why do you think most people can't get there?
Because they give up too soon. Personally, think that's the case, man.
Yeah.
I think people give up too soon and they don't see it through because it's discouraging. Running a business and being in sales is a hard life and a hard path.
Oh.
It's very hard.
It's the hardest.
Yeah.
If you were to start a business today, what would you do?
I wouldn't start one. I would buy one. It's easier to buy revenue than to create it.
So let's say someone doesn't have a lot of money. Let's say they only have 10K in the bank, right?
It also depends on how much experience, because the money you can get it.
Yeah.
And you can come in with sweat equity and get equity. Meaning I can come into your business and say, Omir, I know how to scale a SaaS program to 100 million. If you allow me to come in for 30%, I'll take you there. Like you'd be like, oh shit, really? I'm interested. Tell me more. Right. I would get you intrigued, and I would eventually, and I'm not saying take advantage of businesses, but it's, in my opinion, if you have the money, if you have the experience how to help a business, it's easier to buy a piece of it or join a reoccurring business that's already been built than to start one from scratch. I would try to avoid starting businesses.
Yes.
It's hard.
Cody Sanchez talks about that too. She's like, how can you invest into, businesses that are just on their way out, but they've built everything that needs to be done. They just don't know how to market or sell. That's usually the 100%. Biggest issues. Let's say you don't have money. Let's say someone doesn't have money.
If you don't have money, then
do you recommend someone starting a business or getting into sales and making money?
Well, I recommend to do the best thing for you. And everybody's in a different walk of life, so it's hard for me to give advice to everybody. But if you need money, the easiest thing for you to do is go get a job. Promise you, starting a business is not the way to go make money, because you will struggle the first 6 to 12 months and you'll be just as broke.
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
So if you're broke and you want some money, go get a job for somebody that's already doing well and has something established, has a good brand.
Yes.
If you are already somebody who is a little bit more seasoned and has some money and wants to and has a great vision, yes, go start a business and make it a big deal.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in go get a job. If you're, obviously not everybody's going to do good at sales, but marketing, video editing, virtual sit, like whatever, at a startup. Yeah. Right? Like what the opportunity that you and I have been able to give people, because they were able to grow so much along with us, where if they go work for Microsoft, it's safe, but they don't fucking need you. Where if you go work for a startup, your impact can be felt.
Yeah.
And
you're the bloodline of the business.
Yes, correct. Especially if you're doing sales. So, as we kind of get to, the last few minutes, maybe more or less. What is your ultimate vision with the companies? You mentioned $1 million revenue, but I'm sure that's not ever since I know you, money's not a driving factor for you.
No, it's not, man. Like I like money and I love having some freedom, but basically what I'm doing right now, I do have a bigger vision. I'll share it on this podcast, and some people would say, wow, that's a big vision, but 4 years from now, come have me on the podcast again, and then we'll talk about how we're exiting these businesses. What I'm doing is my goal is to take 6 HVAC companies and be a part of each one of the companies. Obviously, I'll do it gradually. I won't do it all at the same time. And then I've been in talks with private equity companies, and private equity companies are coming into the space of air conditioning companies, plumbing, electrical, because they're buying so many homes in the United States that they need to service their own homes. At the same time, these HVAC companies are very profitable if ran correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be part of 6 different companies with equity. And then I'm going to roll them up and include my agency in the mix and have my agency be like the one that keeps the companies going in terms of leads and marketing and
it's almost like a franchise.
It's not a franchise. It's called a roll-up.
A roll-up.
Yeah.
Explain to the audience.
So a roll-up is basically, I take Omir's company, I take my company, I take your company, I take your company, and we combine revenue. So the multipliers on EBITDA basically is, let's say that you do 5 million in revenue a year and I do 10. Now we combine, we're 15 million. And yours over here does 10 and that one does another 10. Now we're at 35 million. When you go sell, at a larger amount of revenue, you don't get judged based on your profit. You get based on your revenue. So the multiplier now, if you were going to exit your company at 5 million, your company was probably going to be worth a 2x, probably let's say 10 million. Now your company would have been, if you partner with me and do this roll up, it'll be worth 25 million at your exit.
That's nice.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do.
But do you have to be the major equity owner to make that happen?
No. You don't.
So even if you're a minority, you're able to make it happen?
You're the one that structures the deals and you end up, so there's one guy doing this right now, his name is Gil. You know Gil?
Gil, of course.
Yeah, he's the one that's working on this, but with agencies. I want to do it with HVAC companies.
So he's doing, he's helping agencies exit.
Yeah.
So he's combining like multiple agencies. Yeah. So they all have to be in agreement, like, yo, we're going to combine, we're all going to make
Well, you don't have to, like, your entity stays Remote Latinos, my entity's XX Digital. And then you don't have to change it, but when you, basically what you do is you create a holding company that owns all of them, and you own a percentage of the holding company based on the revenue that you have. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I've never heard I never heard people do that. Usually they're trying to buy multiple companies, they make them a franchise, and then it's just like they sell them all, or just one at a time.
Right. Yeah. So and I'm not changing the dynamic or the names or rebranding. Nothing.
You're just putting them together so everybody can.
So it's one portfolio.
Yeah.
And now you say, hey, my portfolio includes these 5-6 companies.
Yeah.
And here's how they benefit each other. They all are in congruency with each other. And if you decide to buy us, here's the multiplier that I'm looking for. They obviously do due diligence. They check everything.
And that's the 4-year plan.
Yeah.
What do you have a number in your head where you'd be like, this is what I want?
You know, there's so many different factors that go into it. But if I can personally walk away with somewhere around 10 to 15 million at the end of it, I would be extremely happy.
Not impossible. I thought it was going to be way bigger, to be honest.
And
I think that's probably, beyond possible.
Yeah, and it probably will be bigger, right? But if I can look, $10 million in your lifetime will give you the life that you want forever.
That's it. You're set.
Oh my God.
You're set. Especially living here.
Oh my God.
You're basically a billionaire. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. But seriously, guys, if you make $10 million in your lifetime, you could choose not to work again another day in your life, and you'll be set. There's a lot of people that I know that have made $10 million in net worth that still work, hustlers.
But they're obsessed. They're obsessed.
Yeah, but they choose to work. They don't have to work.
Yeah, that's a difference. That's a big difference. And I think most people will never get to that, no matter what they do.
Yeah.
But I'm like you, man, because I always feel like I want to travel and like take time out. But like, dude, you get bored. Like, how much traveling and like going out and partying can you do? Like, if we talked about earlier, like both of us got it out of our system when we got here, which is I think it's important.
Yeah.
I think it's important for people to get out of the system if that's in them.
Right.
And then going to your 30s, you're about to get married. You're gonna have kids. Like all that stuff. It's like it becomes less and less relevant. But is one of your, talk to me about once that all happens, next 4 years, you have like a couple little kids, you're married, like what from there, what's the vision after that?
Oh, I'm gonna play in the real estate game. That's and I'm already going towards that route. This year I have a big tax liability. I've never made this much money ever in my career. This is the first time where I have a liability that's pretty scary. But the beauty is I do have the money. And I was talking to tax strategies and they're like, well, invest in real estate, do this. You got to understand you can't just write off, let's just call it $10.
Yeah.
And that's your liability, because I won't talk numbers, but
yeah.
You can't buy a piece of real estate that's $8 and write off $10. Like, there's so much more. You have to own so much real estate. Yeah. So my game after all this goes through is it starts buying apartment, large building complex, 30 to 50 doors at a time.
The rich get richer through real estate.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like they make more money and they get to pay less of it. Like Trump, people are like, whoa.
Well, just I do businesses, man. I get a sense of accomplishment when I can do something correctly. So I'll give you an example. If you and I meet and you're like, Jose, I have this issue and I know how to solve it, I get a sense of encouragement, accomplishment if I can help you check that off. So the more things I could check off, the better I feel.
Yeah.
So to me, like, working hard is fun.
I love that. And then you have real estate here in Colombia. Do you own the place?
I don't own the place. I'm in negotiations. It's been very difficult. The owner is like, hey, we do want to sell it, but we want a multiplier, a price that is fucking ridiculous, guys. Like some of these properties are worth more than I can put a price on.
And they're probably overvalued too. So.
Yeah, and location matters, right?
Yeah.
So,
So Jose is actually living about, 45 minutes from here?
Yeah, I live by the airport, and I live in a beautiful house. Yeah.
Rio Negro, which is like more quiet. It's more, I told him, what's the difference between this? And he's like, city, village. Right?
City, small town.
Yeah. So, people always come to Medellin, but they never check out Rio Negro. What is it in Rio Negro? Because I've been through the airport.
Yeah, I mean, there's not. It's a small town, but I mean, obviously, the where it's at is Medellin. Like, if you're gonna visit Rio Negro, hit me up one day. I'll take you around. It'll probably take us 10 minutes to go through the whole town. There's not much there, but there's a lot of people that have wealth that live there, right? Like the ex-president Uribe lived there. So there's a lot of retired old money that lives there, that stores themselves there and all their money and their wealth. There's a lot of money there. Probably more money there than some areas here.
I can definitely see that. I mean, outside of Las Palmas, I feel like, you know, Poblado is like, money comes in and out because of tourism, right?
Right,
It's not money that sticks here. There's only so many people here that I know that are like truly wealthy that live in Medellin. And yeah, that's interesting, man. So as we wrap up, like, we talked about your vision, we talked about the company, we talked about your uphill. The last thing that I want to ask you is, like, do you mentioned going back to the States. Do you feel like with where the state is now, you know, politics change, all that stuff, do you see that as a motivating factor to move back to the States? Or
well, I'll be honest with you, I have never attributed success or failure to any politician being in office. Never. It's your effort, your willingness to work hard. I will tell you, if we go to war with Russia, we're fucked. And I'm not saying that we, as a U.S., we're weak, but bro, I don't want to go to a nuclear territory, like whether we've been nuked. So that's some of the things that are going on right now, right? So as far as politics, I'll tell you that, Biden was probably not the best president. If you're in that side of Biden, like, hey,
God bless.
Yeah, it was all good. But I'm a capitalist, and I like money, and I like winning, and I like making businesses very profitable, and that's what I'm going for. If everything works well and I move to the States, it probably have something to do with some of the companies that I'm getting involved with.
I love that. And then last step, this is for the single man. How does one acquire a wife?
Well, you got to be intentional, bro. You can't be in the hey, let's mess around phase, right? Like, you gotta if you are in that phase, you got to get that out of your system. And at some point, you're gonna feel like you're lonely, because even though you're with company, it's empty company that is only there for a moment, and then they leave. So at some point, when you become serious and say, hey, I really want to get somebody that's a partner for life, you got to just become intentional. Again, like I told you, I did it by writing down the personality qualities, and I even wrote down some baggage, like what I didn't want. Like, I didn't want my future partner to have kids. To me, that's baggage, bro. Like, I have to deal with the baby. That I don't want that, right? So you get intentional of who you're looking for, and then when you find it, you know.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Jose Sanchez, anything else that we need to cover before we end this beautiful podcast?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to follow me on social media, you can look at me up on IG, Zay, ZAY_closer. I'm on Facebook as Jose Sanchez.
We're going to add that all in the descriptions here. Yeah. So, guys, Jose Sanchez, absolute legend. We are here to make America remote again and make our lives as best as possible by helping other people live their best life. So, Jose Sanchez, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And let's make America remote again.
Let's roll.